Now that we have the installation done, I had a quick overview of the Ultimate Automation tool. I would like to show you a bit more about state machine and state machine, the sub-state machines. And actually it's sub-automations, because no matter what type of automation, what language you use, you can always use a sub-automation of any type or any language. So let's first continue with the demo state machine and see what we can do with connecting to Home Assistant and how the state machine works. So let's remove that one. So we have a start and we create a variable. We don't do it anymore. What we want to use is the Home Assistant, the boolean and the number. Let's say, example, you want to say if this switch is off, then we set the number to 10, and if it's on, we set it to 20. Just a demo, not useful. So first, that means we need to know the entity. So we need to say var bool entity is, and so we go to this bool and copy the entity ID of that value, and we can create the Home Assistant variable. And over here you see Home Assistant can create a variable. So we say var bool1, let's say ID, the variable ID, but is, then it's the name. Now let's say we just give it the same name. You don't need to, but we give the name of the variable is the same as the entity ID. So that's data, the mocking options. So this is for mocking a real value, so not using the Home Assistant value but just the own. So that means in our case it's on or off. So we say on or off. Before we continue, just try this. Same. It will say finished because there's no way to go for the state machine, but it's running. We still have this test file, we can delete it, so we don't use it. There's a little thing, first time the variables, need to fix that. So now you see off, that's the value. Let's see if we can on, and it's on. So now we made a connection. So let's say we add a state that, let's say on, and we add a state that it's off. And depending on the value, that means, and over here, because I have a terrible memory, so how did I call it? So okay, that's bool1. That's the ID of the variable. So what we can do is get a variable value, so if it's on, it will go to that state. So let's see, bool1 is on, and 1 is off. Okay, you get the picture. So off. Save. It's off. And okay. Off. Okay. And on. Okay. So now it's in this state. Go. Now it's in this state. Perfect. So this is how you can go from one state to the other. So these are the connecting lines. But now we need to set the value over here. So how do we do that? Well, maybe that's time for a method. So we did select JavaScript, so you can just write a function. If you would choose Python, you would have def function set number. Oh. And let's say, no, we can do that number and value, and there is a method for that. Maybe it's also nice. It's not needed. I will later on. I will do that. But for now, I just this is too confusing. We call the service Home Assistant service. The variable ID. It's not necessary. The parameter. So that's the service, and I think the service is called input number. Input dot number. The set a value is the command, and I think then you need to have the entity ID dot, let's make this entity ID, go back over here and let's see what the entity ID is. Entity ID, and we set the value, I think it's called value. Value. Let's hope. Save. And so what did we say? If it was on, we will set it to 20. 20, and set it to off. We will set it to 10. Of course. Let me jump quick to how the number is called. Input underscore number, set underscore value. 20, 10. And we get these values, we can pull them in also, of course. It's the same as the Boolean, but we don't need them. So this is basically how it works in conjunction with Home Assistant and how the state machine is working. So we can also create a sub-state machine. Let's do that. Let's say just not really a useful one, but let's say a delay. And let's state machine JavaScript. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I can still change it now. It's a sub-state machine. Yes, and we add a parameter. So what would be a logical parameter? Of course, that's the delay. Delay in seconds. And the script, let's just have a delay. Default value, let's say 6 seconds, and it's input. So this one will automatically be created. And this one, so the default value is used when the one is using this is not setting the value, or you're testing it standalone, then it's the default value. So you can also, if you have a sub, and I will show you, if you have a sub state to turn on a light, you just have a real light entity ID. So this is the input, and we add a state, and always you need always have a start state, so the system knows which state to use first. So start, and what we will do is create a timer. So, well, we're not here, not creating it here. We will create it here. Timer 1. Is create timer. Delay timer, and the default value is delay. So delay, and let's see, create timer delay. Yes, and we're going to add a state. And it's a normal state. We don't do anything here. Oh yeah. Timer expired. That means, what is the timer value? It's timer. So we say get variable value equals 0. Then the timer is expired. Expired. And of course you need to start the timer. And start timer. Which one? Of course I cannot remember it. Timer 1. Specific value, it's already provided. That's the delay. Okay. Save. So now I save it, and there's no, you cannot enable, it's a sub automation, so there's no enable, but I can still test it though. And if I press start, restart, I mean. Now we see the timer, and after then, okay, so that's now it's going back to not active because it's a state machine. So this is tested. And now we can use this one. Let's say in this. And we're going to add a state and a sub-state machine. And we select the one we just created, delay. And we say, not wait too long, 3. Oh, script value name. Oh, not directly, I'm sorry, my mistake. Let's say, delay delay number. Okay. Oh, of course. Delay and pre-state. So now when it's going to off, we move the endpoint to delay, and let's say right, and this one endpoint to delay left. It's not really a good one, right? Because now you have to continue when the delay, because during the delay the timer can already be switched on or off again. So it will go to on, I'm making a big mess over here now. So if the timer has expired, the sub, not the timer, I'm sorry, is on, and of course the sub-state machine is finished. Not. Okay. And over here. Off. So if we switch now, it should wait, and after 3 seconds, because I didn't change it, it will go. So now there's a delay. 20. Do this and this. Let's stay 20. So that's the use, and of course you can go to the sub. So that's state machine and sub-state machines. You can have more complex. I mean, I can give you an example of what's running at my home. So I have library. That's for later, but for Home Assistant because I don't want to deal with all that kind of stuff, so I have a light on. That's a sub-state machine. The pre-action is only add light, is the entity. Entity, by the way, that's the variable. So I have a light entity, and the brightness, default values, so that's a real bulb I have here for testing, and just for testing for me it's output value. You can have a success, false or true. Then I add a light with the entity, and action is set entity true and the brightness, and when the time is expired then it's the failure, and when the light is on and the timer is not expired then it will be finished, success. So that's a very basic sub-automation. Then I have a light monitor, so if the light can only stay on for, let's say, half an hour, like in the toilet or the bathroom where people can have the light, keep the light on, it will automatically turn off. So this is also a sub-automation. So this is sub-automation with the same light entity, but the maximum time in seconds. For testing only 5, it's easier, but normally you would have it, let's say, for half an hour or so. So when the light is on, and I created a method for that. So entity, that's a parameter, so we add a light on, or turning light off. And so when the light is on, it will start an action, start automation timer, and if an action is created on a state, then it will be black, otherwise it will be light, so dark and light. So when the time is expired, then it will turn the light off, so that's a sub-automation. And so when the light is off, it will go back to the start and wait till the light is on again. So this is sub. So now I can just use like the light monitor in the office. So that's not a sub-state machine, you can see it over here, sub-automation. So these 3 are sub-automations. So this monitor is using this sub-automation, is a sub-automation itself, and this one. So that was very easy. You just the light entity. This the only thing what you need to define are these 2. And the light entity, you use the variable name, script variable names to use for the input, and that's it. Then this is the restart. So the sub-automation not running, but it's always running. It's the monitor. So this it will never go to start. It always stay here. And what I did is just copy this automation, copy, and rename it. So I will delete it again. Rename it. And so I can have it for the bathroom also. The only thing I need to change is the maximum time on and the light entity. So that's the state machine and sub-state machines.